In March of 2011, Lupe Fiasco released one of the most anticipated albums of that year with his third studio album, Lasers. The project was a massive success for Fiasco. The record topped the charts and sold over 200,000 copies first week. However, Fiasco's label really didn't believe in the album. In fact, they didn't even want to release the album. If it wasn't for fans rallying outside of Atlantic Records, we may have never gotten this album. And honestly, the rally spoke to how special Lupe Fiasco was, and what made him special in the first place. I gotta testify. A year after the success of The College Dropout, Kanye West would release Late Registration. I know it. On the third track of the album, you'd find the song Touch the Sky. Although Kanye has great lyricism throughout the track, it was the unknown Chicago rapper on the third verse that stole the show. Yes, guess who's on third? Lupe still like. The lyricism was creative and the wordplay was amazing. And by the end of the song, the name Lupe Fiasco stuck with listeners. The hype that Lupe carried was insane for such a young rapper, as he had cosigns from Jay-Z and obviously Kanye. With all of the tools that Lupe Fiasco had showcased so early into his career, a lot of people believed that Lupe Fiasco was gonna be the next hip-hop great. And that crowd would only get louder after the release of Lupe Fiasco's Food and Liquor. Lupe's debut record spoke on many issues that revolved around poverty, religion, the state of hip-hop, among other things. And for the majority of rap fans, the album was considered to be an instant classic, especially with a song like Kick Push being the big hit on the album. The song tells the story of a young kid who learns to skate as an escape of the problems of the world. Which was really unique for a rapper to do in 2006. For those who don't know, the mid-2000s was like really bad for hip-hop because it was dominated by like ringtone rap, which is like the 2006 equivalent of TikTok rap. And then here was Lupe Fiasco rapping over this cool beat about skateboards, which was pretty cool. Speaking of cool though, this life goes passing you by. It might go fast if you. Lupe has one of the greatest storytelling tracks I've ever heard with The Cool. Came back in the same suit that he was buried in. Lupe tells the story of a person that got killed, resurrects, only to die in the same fashion that he did the first time. The hands of the same gun too. The imagery on this song is insane though. Reverse archaeologist? That shit is crazy. Anyways, among other notable songs on the album is the track Daydreaming. This song won Lupe Fiasco a Grammy, and considering that the Grammys never give awards to rappers like Lupe Fiasco, it is special. It's another storytelling track, but this one is really creative because it's supposed to be this big robot, but the robot is a personalized like house complex type of thing. It's really cool. And like I said before, this album became a classic. Lupe! And a classic debut album means you gotta be one of the biggest rappers in all of hip-hop as your career goes on. And by 2007, Lupe Fiasco had already accomplished that. Lupe Fiasco Superstar was the lead single for Lupe Fiasco's second album, The Cool, and it was a solidified hit. Understandably so as well, because I can't imagine this song not being a hit. Again, this is another hip-hop classic, and it's one of those songs that are good, and that's why they're mainstream. And the album that went alongside it is also pretty good. Let's peruse the essentials of cool, a brief study of the album was more commercially successful than Food and Liquor, and technically it was kind of like a sequel album in terms of concept, because the album focuses heavily on the concept of being cool with the character of Michael Young History. This is the same character that we see on The Cool and a bunch of other tracks from Food and Liquor. I would have analyzed this character, but it's just a lot. But it was after the Cool that Lupe's career just kind of took a weird turn because his label conflicts really became known to everybody who was paying attention. Usually with a rapper like Lupe Fiasco, the issue that arises is, oh, he can't make hits. But Lupe Fiasco had hits.
Nigga, we came into Atlantic with Battle Scars. The shit had already went like 8 times platinum. Nigga, we came in with spins already, with plaques already. I already had multi-platinum plaques that were obsolete by the end of the month because we had already did another 2-3 times platinum. And Sony, the guy who did the song with, they'll do all the footwork. You ain't gotta do shit. You just need to release. You know what the niggas told me? It's like you're doing a song with Adam Lambert. It just doesn't feel right.
Lupe says that the problem with the label came from him not signing a 360 deal, which is basically like a slave contract for artists. But still, if you ask the label, the reasoning is like he didn't have hits. But again, I just have to disagree with it because of the songs that were originally supposed to be on this album.
Beautiful girls.
So yeah, this is B.O.B. and Bruno Mars on Nothing on You, but it was supposed to be Bruno Mars and Lupe Fiasco. There is like an unfinished version of Lupe Fiasco on this song that you can find on the internet. And although I am intrigued to hear like what a Lupe Fiasco Nothing on You would have sounded like and how it would have performed, I am kind of happy that it went to B.O.B. because like B.O.B. matches the song so well. But where I draw the line is airplanes.
Can we pretend that airplanes in the night?
So yeah, this was also meant to be on Lupe Fiasco's Lasers, and I feel like Lupe Fiasco might have had a more interesting concept than B.O.B. had.
I could use a dream or a genie or a...
I don't mind B.O.B. on this song. I think it's a good song, but I feel like he's mainly carried by Hayley Williams. Shout out to Hayley Williams, by the way, like real shit. But yeah, the label was hating, and because of that, Lupe Fiasco's Lasers just kind of sat in album purgatory for a while. And like I said, the album would have never came out if it wasn't for the fans rallying outside of Atlantic Records.
So y'all actually did it, huh? Thank you very much for putting on a very peaceful protest. Third thing I want to say is Lasers is dropping March 8th.
And it's just one of the most interesting hip-hop stories because like you see Leor Cohen come out. Leor Cohen is like the most hated man in all of hip-hop, I'm not gonna lie. And he comes out with the boombox and he's playing The Show Goes On.
I was once that little boy, terrified of the...
This was the lead single for Lasers, and hey, I think it's a pretty good song. This is the song that got me into Lupe Fiasco, and honestly, back in like 2016, this was like top 3 favorite songs ever. The song samples Float On by Modest Mouse. Which, by the way, I thought it was like this little gem that I knew about, but turns out it was just a big fucking hit and really iconic as well. But with The Show Goes On, I think Lupe just brought his Lupe energy, and you know what? He makes it work. It's definitely a song that even to this day, it gets me really hyped. It does make me wonder why the label doubted him this whole time, because the song was a massive commercial success for Lupe. But I guess it's understandable because the whole first verse is Lupe just dissing his own label.
They make you mad. They treat you like a slave. Put chains all on your soul and put whips up on your back.
But again, it works. But this experience was really bad for Lupe Fiasco. He felt depressed during all of this, and justifiably so. To have the label basically be like, hey, you're not gonna do the music that you want to do, you're gonna do the music that we want you to do. And then when you make that music, we're gonna tell you you're trash at it. It can be draining, and I feel like that's the main reason why Lupe Fiasco stepped away from fame. In his early career, he had the support of rappers like Kanye, Jay-Z, as well as receiving high praise from Pharrell Williams and Nas. Not that long ago, he was kind of on top of the world with Superstar, and now the label thought he wasn't good enough to produce hits. And to avoid that constant pressure, Lupe Fiasco just did his own thing. And although he hasn't quite replicated the commercial success of Lasers, at least Lupe is happy doing his own thing. And that's ultimately what made Lupe Fiasco a hip-hop legend. Anyways, with that being said, shout out to Lupe, shout out to me, shout out to Jay Dilla, shout out to y'all, shout out to Shout out to the world. Shout out to Messi. Real shit. Shout out to Messi. Yeah, roll the outro, bro.